So Jake, do you know what I watched this weekend?
What'd you watch, Donnie?
Do you want to guess? Has to do with the holiday special.
Oh, did you watch the Star Wars holiday special?
Yes, and I made it like 5 minutes in.
How was your Life Day experience? All 5 minutes of it?
It was not very good. But what I did enjoy the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
So I skipped ahead
with
to
Boba Fett.
Cartoon, yeah.
Boba Fett, yeah. Boba Fett's first appearance in the Star Wars universe.
Is it really?
Yes.
I didn't know
yes,
that.
it does. Because that came out after Episode 4, between Episode 5, and his first on-screen appearance is Episode 5.
Well, since we're talking about bad films, let's just get right into it. Our best and worst of 2018. Start the credits.
Are we starting credits, or would you start the tape?
Should we say start the tape?
Because isn't the credits at the end, generally?
It just ends.
Let's roll.
How bad?
Just kidding, folks. That's not the end of the show.
We'll
We've
edit
actually got a lot to talk about today.
We'll edit that later. Let's start off with this Rotten Tomatoes top 10, or top 100 films. I don't know what I'm thinking of Rotten Tomatoes. Now, this is a critic score. This isn't fan score. If it was fan score, we'd have a different view of it.
Fan scores are always pretty different.
Number 1, Black Panther. What do you think?
I mean, so there were a lot of movies this year, and Black Panther, it was definitely an enjoyable movie to watch, but I wouldn't call it number 1 for the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put Mission Impossible Fallout there either.
I unfortunately did not get the chance to see that one, although I'm skeptical considering how some of the other Mission Impossible movies were.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually enjoyable, but I wouldn't say that they're number 2.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the only reason why we give it number 2 or number 1 is because of the stunts. I think Tom Cruise still does an amazing job, and it's for real. All that he does, it's for real.
It's very impressive that he can do
that. Let's jump into my favorite films of 2018.
Abandoning the Rotten Tomatoes just like that?
I mean, we'll bring it back later. I mean, in no particular order, although number 1 is Infinity War. I really liked Infinity War.
We should probably give a quick disclaimer here. So, we did not get to see all 100 of these movies on this list. What we're basing this on is the movies that we got to individually see. And
although I saw 100. So
yeah, you saw a lot more than me. I only saw like 5 or 6. You saw like 14 or whatever.
A Star is Born, Into the Spider-Verse. I will say Into the Spider-Verse. That is actually in my top. I really did dig that.
Mm-hmm. I've heard really good things about it.
I like the animation on it. Mm-hmm. I really did. The animation was pretty comic, like of course it looks comic book wise, but they actually made it look more comic book than anything else. And the end credit scene, if you don't stick around for the end credit, shame on you. All right.
Yeah, I've heard it described as like bringing a comic book to life, and that sounds like a very interesting style to present in a movie. And so I'm glad to hear that's kind of working out.
And I was skeptical about it because I was like, there was 2 films this year that had to do with Spider-Man. Well, there was actually 3 because it was Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
In the Spider-Verse, which doesn't take place around Peter Parker, it takes place around somebody else. But what I do have to say is Venom. Venom broke. Actually, it was in my top. It was on my top films of the year. And don't turn off the screen now. I know there was a lot of hate for Venom, but I thought Venom was a good, solid standalone. Mm-hmm. Now I don't want to see it go into a 2 or a 3. I don't want a series out of it. I'm fine with that. Just like next year, Joaquin Phoenix is going to do the Joker movie.
Okay.
And I'm hoping it's just a one and done.
Do you happen to know, like, have they teased anything? Like, are they going to do a sequel to Venom? Or are they going to connect it to a larger world? Or
they set up for a sequel.
Okay.
Of course, this is also going to be spoiler-free. We are not planning on spoiling anything. If something slips our mouth, we apologize. But, yeah, it's bound to happen.
And we're going to do our best.
I mean, we can always
no one likes spoilers.
No, nobody likes spoilers. Okay, so Infinity War was number 1. We'll get to talking to these films in a little bit. A Quiet Place number 2. Venom number 3, In the Spider-Verse 4. The Meg actually broke on my list. Another critic-hated film. Black Panther, Jurassic World 2, The Commuter, and Creed 2. Jake, what's your list look like?
So the movies I got to see this year were The Incredibles 2, Infinity War, Solo, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Black Panther, which I mentioned I saw in the beginning of the year. Out of these movies, I'd have to say Infinity War was my favorite. It was a lot of fun to watch. And as you're probably seeing here, we do have a little bit of a bias. We're nerds, no surprise there. But it was a lot of fun to watch, and I mean, it was just very enjoyable overall. Cinematography was great, the story was interesting, and there's so many of the characters that I love. Second from there, I'd probably have to put, I'd say Incredibles 2. And I mean, we waited something like, how long has it been since Incredibles 1? Like 10 years?
It's been a while.
Something. I mean, we waited a long time. I remember they actually had a little clip at the beginning of before the film played where they're like, hey, thank you for waiting 10 years. We just didn't want to make a movie until we had the right story. And I have to say that's something I can really respect, is just waiting until you have the right story to make your movie. And, I mean, the story for me, it was enjoyable. It's, yeah, it's aimed toward the younger audience, but there's plenty of things for older audiences to enjoy.
I want to know, who had the largest gap? Was it Monsters, Inc. between 1 and 2? Was it Toy Story, or was it Incredibles?
You know, I've never seen Monsters, Inc.
You've never seen
Monsters, Inc.? I've never seen Monsters, Inc.
I didn't see the Monsters University, but I did see Monsters, Inc.
I've never seen it.
Toy Story 4, also next year. That'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that they're moving on from Andy, but we'll have to get over it.
I actually, again, I didn't see 3, but I saw 1 and 2. I remember growing up with those.
Well, spoiler alert, I just spoiled that. Sorry, they're moving on from Andy.
No. But third from there, I'd probably have to say Bohemian Rhapsody. And I mean, again, I'm going to throw in, I got a little bit of bias here. I love Queen. And this is a movie that if you love Queen, you should definitely go see it. If nothing else, just to enjoy the music and the performances that go along with it. I have some critiques of this movie that I mean, there's parts of it I think that could have been better. It felt to me, in many regards, less of a Queen movie and more of just a Freddie Mercury movie, and I was kind of a little bit disappointed about that. But overall, it's still an enjoyable film.
Did it have a documentary vibe? Because some people said it did, and then some people were like, no.
I felt like it did. Like, the live performances and things like that are nice and kind of help break up the documentary vibe, but I still got it. That's one of my biggest complaints, is just sitting there watching it. Like, you kind of get an idea of where it's going, because if you've seen a couple documentaries for pretty much any star, you get the understanding. Like, even if you don't know Freddie Mercury's life, you have an idea. Like, all right, well, something's going to happen here. He's going to get ruined by the fame here. Like, that was kind of one of my disappointments, and that's where I think I would have liked to see more of the other band members, because again, it focuses on Freddie Mercury.
Now, we could talk about one film on your list for hours. Solo.
Yeah, that is my next in my rating here, and yeah, I mean, it got a lot of hate this year. But you know what? I enjoyed Solo. It's not up there at the top, but as a Star Wars fan going to see the film, I did enjoy sitting through Solo.
Do you know anybody that hated that film?
Yeah, I do know people who hated that film. I think we all know people that hated that film.
Is one sitting in this room? Or is one of them sitting right here or no?
Well, what is your decision on Solo?
You'll have to see the end of the production for that, because it is not in my top films of the year. So you can take a pretty well guess of where that's at.
Did you list as one of your bad ones? We'll see. Or you can skip to the end.
It's bad because it's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the
movie. And nobody
movie.
wanted to see it.
Oh, I know. I have, so when I look at Solo and when I look at why Solo did bad, I kind of have 3 main reasons for why it did bad. And the first reason I think Solo did poorly in the box office is that we didn't ask for this movie. No one really wanted a movie with Solo that didn't have Harrison Ford in it. I mean, there's not even a Harrison Ford cameo like we see, like Marvel does Stan Lee, or rest in peace.
And we already know what happened to Han Solo in the sequel trilogy that Disney's done. So to go back, I mean, yeah, we know the end of Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan is a better character. I shouldn't say better character, because Han Solo is a good character. Obi-Wan Kenobi, at least we have somebody that made you feel like Alec Guinness in the original trilogy with Ewan McGregor.
And we've got used to Ewan McGregor, and so if they were to pick up an Obi-Wan film, please do it. Ewan McGregor is the perfect age right now.
Let's skip Solo a little bit, because we can talk about that for hours.
We can talk about Solo forever.
Black Panther was on both of our top. So I'll let you talk about Black Panther first, and then I'll jump in.
So, I mean, out of my 5 movies, it was probably my least favorite. And, I mean, this isn't to say that Black Panther is a bad movie, because I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the others. I mean, not getting into some of the plots. I mean, some of the characters were very interesting. The villain was particularly interesting. Some of the characters weren't so interesting. Some of them just felt too strong. Wakanda, which is the sort of home of the Black Panther, they just felt like too powerful. Like, I never felt like the hero was like really doomed. Like, that's one thing. Like Infinity War, I mean, Thanos is like, he feels powerful. You fear for characters' lives. And Black Panther, I mean, there's times where the villain feels very strong, but I just never really felt like the hero was going to lose.
Now, Thanos is an interesting villain, and I always like those type of villains being a storyteller in which you can somewhat feel compassion for.
Mhm.
It's not like it's they're not forcing you to feel that way for him.
A good villain.
This isn't Maleficent, which Disney brought out, trying to
Yeah.
make Sleeping Beauty, you know, the villain for that, feel like she was what's a good word for that? Feel like she was.
I mean, they like rewrote the whole classic
Yeah.
story with that one.
Because apparently people can't beat you at Disney.
But Infinity War, what it does is so if you haven't seen the movie, Thanos throughout the movie is presented. He's a very relatable villain. I mean, you can see where he's going. He sees himself as a hero, which all good villains in a story should see themselves as the hero. No one looks at themselves and says, "Oh, I'm the villain here. I'm going to go do terrible things." He believes what he's doing is right, and it's just his idea is flawed. And that's what makes him such an interesting villain character. And you can see he has moments that are very relatable. You can see he shows compassion, he has love, he has caring. He just, it's misplaced is where his end goals are.
Alright, so we covered Infinity War a little bit. A Quiet Place. I'll jump into this one because I know you hadn't seen A Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
A Quiet Place to me, I mean, it was I wish I would have saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is I saw it here, and even though I was home alone and the lights were out and stuff like that, it did not give me the surround sound vibe. Because in that film, it is silent except for the little, you could hear a mouse creeping across the floor, and that's it for most of this film. And to have that, and it's in the title, A Quiet Place, you kind of expected it. I expected it going into it. The good thing is, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, but you see the creatures. And it does give you a little bit of intimidation and stuff like that.
Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that's a bad thing?
It's a very good thing, because I just watched Bird Box the other night.
Okay.
Bird Box, Bird Box, okay?
Sounds like he's getting heated.
I watch it, I was so invested in the characters, I was so invested in her journey with the kids the whole way through, and that, plus when people were in the house together, which I'm not spoiling anything by saying this, but when the people are in the house together, I'm invested in all the character developments that are there, and the people that are in that room, and just to have the ending be up to your imagination.
I mean,
oh, I raged.
Sometimes though, I mean, I've heard from other people critiquing movies, so, I don't know, did you ever see Apollo 18? It's
No.
it was some horror, they go to the moon and something goes wrong. I didn't watch it.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that.
But it ends up, the ending, the creatures end up being some spiders, or alien spiders, or something like
but
that.
at least you see the creatures.
Well, no, that's the thing. I heard a lot of people complaining about that movie because they wanted it left to your own imagination. Because a lot of times your imagination can craft something scarier than what the film can actually come up with. And so you kind of tailor it. So I mean, if you're not afraid of spiders, the moon spiders aren't that terrifying.
Yeah.
And so you come up with something that scares you. And I know a lot of old horror movies, you kind of build on those premises, things like The Fog. And the idea is there's something there, but you don't know what it is. And that's supposed to play on your fears.
Well, that's good, but I've seen it done and executed a lot better than this one. Because, I love The Grey. I don't know if you ever saw it with Liam Neeson.
That's with the wolves, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was executed, and listen, I'm spoiling this because it was how many years ago? If you haven't seen it by now, that's, but you should I recommend it if you're over 18 because there's a lot of swear words in it, and there's a lot of language and everything else like that. But definitely, with that film, you get all the way to the end. It builds all the way to the end with characters, and it cuts them down one by one at the end. And then all of a sudden you're there, and you realize, Liam Neeson even says it, I can do that. And that's one of those things where it's oh, and then they go head to head with the wolf, and then it just cuts to black. You don't know who won. I've seen it executed there perfectly, because it's okay, you leave it up to your imagination who won. Plus there's an end credit scene where you see the fur of the wolf just breathing, and then it cuts again, and you don't know if he's breathing his last breath, or if he's breathing because he won. You don't know. And then this is a film I'm sure you've seen, I Am Legend.
Yes, I have.
When you get to I Am Legend and you see the end of I Am Legend, okay, it's depending on what version you watch, the alternate.
The audience, this ending is when they're getting the community, right?
Yes.
And they have the vaccine.
Yes.
Is this going to work?
But I'm specifically talking about the Will Smith moment,
Yeah.
the last when he either saves the woman and her child, or when he leaves with them. Because remember, there's two alternate endings. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't believe it's alternate. I just saw the ones that the straight film.
There's two alternate endings, and in the straight film, I believe
he doesn't make it.
He doesn't make it.
No.
So
he's behind the glass door, and the one's just banging its head against the
with
glass.
that one, it's good because it's a sacrifice moment. In the other one, when he just gives over the body and he lets him go with the family, you spent the whole film building up to a suspenseful moment, and then the story lives on. Which it's not bad that the story lives on, and a little bit of that happens in A Quiet Place, which is getting back to the main subject here. But A Quiet Place and Bird Box, they were both kind of the same. A Quiet Place was you didn't make a noise, and in Bird Box you didn't want to see. So it kind of has that stuff, and I understand the Bird Box novel was out, at least that's what they said before A Quiet Place was even written. So you got to give the benefit of the doubt to Bird Box for the idea behind certain things. But to me, the execution of The Quiet Place was a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Plus seeing the monsters or whatever, because you've seen so many films that just don't show you certain things that leave up to imagination.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that's the benefit sometimes. It's all about execution is what it comes down to. I think particularly, like, if you're going to have a lame-looking monster, I mean, that just takes the fear right out of it if you have, like, if you show it. I mean, again, going back to those older movies, like, they didn't have really great special effects animations. So you see the monster and you're like, what is that? Some guy with, like, a towel and, like, some slime on him?
I mean, I think the Tauntauns worked out well for Star Wars, so.
But that,
I'm just saying.
Tauntauns aren't meant to be scary, though.
No.
So that's the thing. Like,
okay, how about the Ewoks? They're pretty scary.
Ewoks are terrifying.
Evil teddy bears.
Beat you to death with sticks.
I'm going to run through two real quick before Anthony comes on. By the way, if you don't know, Anthony Cunjo is going to join us here in a few seconds, actually, because we're running close to that time period.
Anthony's a friend of ours who's seen a lot more films than we have.
And he's he's seen different films too.
Well, a lot more this year.
A lot more this year, and it's
like 12 or 15 or something.
Oh yeah, he had a whole list.
So
I'm going to run through two real quick. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. I was close to getting thrown to the bottom. Like it's honorable mentions. Let's put it that way. It's not like it was at the bottom of my list, but it was honorable mentions. Mm-hmm. It was close to that, along with Creed 2. Creed 2 really disappointed me. I don't know if have you seen Rocky at all?
You know, I know all of like the. I mean, like I have the general plot of the story, and I know all the references, but I never actually sat through the Rocky movies.
Okay. Apollo Creed in the original, this was like Rocky 4 or whatever, killed. Apollo Creed was killed by Drago. Okay, and this is his son. So we've seen the first film. I loved it. Mm-hmm. It like rebooted this franchise. Plus, I didn't. You know, it's. I mean, it's easy to say that when you reboot something in this day and age, you know, it looks a lot better. Well, obviously, it looks better.
Well, yeah, the effects are better.
But it was a lot better than the Rockies, in my opinion. Even though it was a spin-off.
Even story-wise, like it was better. You felt the characters more and things like that.
I truly believe so. Although people that are going to watch this and grew up with, you know, with Rocky is going to disagree, and that's fine because. I mean, hey, that's what you like, and I'm not disagreeing with something you like. Mm-hmm. But that almost fell off because you were waiting for this, because Drago's son was fighting Apollo Creed's son. So it was like, you know, the father who killed his father's son, you know, and they're both going at it. It's kind of like Black Panther in the sense where you have like the cousins on both sides kind of fighting. They were cousins, right? I do believe so.
Yeah, because it was the father and the father's brother who were the previous, and the father ended up killing the brother. And then it was the sons left behind.
Okay, so you have that kind of same concept where it's the two sons fighting each other. But I felt more of a character arc for the Russian character. Like in a film like that, you're not supposed to. Like I understand there was like hints where it's like, yeah, you're okay to feel for the son because he's kind of forced into this the boxing business. Mm-hmm. But I felt more compassion towards.
You want to be able to root for the hero.
Yeah, I wanted to root for the. I mean, well, I guess. I mean,
the villain overshadowed the hero.
Yeah, the villain overshadowed the hero. I found myself rooting for the quote-unquote villain, and then I found myself rooting for the hero. And I went in with high expectations with that, and I feel like it just plummeted a little bit on my list.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. One question, though, before you move on to your next movie. So, Jurassic World, was your main problem simply that there wasn't enough Jeff in it?
I feel like that's everybody's problem. He got more screen time in the trailer.
Yeah, that's what everyone's told me. I mean, where's my Jeff?
You did see Jurassic World too, right?
I actually, again, I
did you not? No.
But I hear about it. I had someone pretty much go like break down the whole plot for me because I have a friend and she was like, "Yeah, I really like this movie, but there's just not enough Jeff," and that just ruined it for me.
My thing is because I felt the reboot was good, like not better than the originals in this case. I still love Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3 better than any of these. Okay. But it looks better now because we're in a different day and age.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Jurassic World. Or not Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. If you ever go back and watch the original, you see like
it was on Netflix a while ago.
Some of the effects are pretty bad.
But you know what? Give them credit. I mean, they did what they had to do.
They did the best with their time, and honestly, I mean, it's pretty good. It's just
and Jaws is still one of the best films out there too. So I mean, Steven Spielberg, you're the man. Speaking of Steven Spielberg and Jaws, the Meg. I love the Meg. Megalodon comes up from the abyss, if you want to call it, way down underneath the sea. I read an article with them saying that they want to be the second best shark film. Mm-hmm. With being that of course, it's impossible to be number one with Jaws. But number two, when you go in with that mindset, I think it's a very good mindset to have and say, hey, listen, we can't be number one. So
I wonder, do you think that's something that would be better for an audience member to go on? Because I feel like as a creator, that's not a great mindset. Like as a creator, your mindset should always be, I'm going to create the best movie we possibly can. Always aim high. But I mean,
I think
not expect to be the best, but try to be the best. Is I think the mindset you should have.
Let's be honest. Everybody aims for gold. How many people get it?
Yeah, I know.
So
but I'm saying you should have that high goal. Not necessarily like don't be disappointed if you don't hit that top mark, but still aim for the high mark. Although I think as an audience member, like having the correct expectation is an important factor.
Expectations, they say.
Because that goes back to Creed too. Don't bring him in here right now. Don't bring him in here right now.
All right. So I think it's a good time. I think Anthony's on the line right now. So Anthony, first of all, if you don't know Anthony, he's worked on a lot of my films with special
you probably
effects.
don't know Anthony.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's been on the show of Hope Channel before, so I thought maybe. He's worked on a lot of my effects, agendas, great job with the watches and the gunshots. I always love that. He'll be doing our sci-fi film whenever we get a chance to do that. Jake, I'm counting on you for the sci-fi film. Hey, Anthony, are you there? Tell us some of your top films.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. So first I'm just going to go through my best and then my worst, and then I'm going to talk about the first 4 best ones just so I don't go on forever, and then the 2 worst ones because they're the only 2 that I didn't like. So my best ones are Pacific Rim Uprising, First Man, Isle of Dogs, Ready Player One, Equalizer 2, Wreck-It Ralph 2, Deadpool 2, Incredibles 2, Shape of Water, Black Panther, and Infinity War. And so the first 4, Pacific Rim Uprising is my top just because I've always been in love with the first movie. Everything about it was amazing. And to see it come back as a sequel was, I never thought it would happen because of how delayed it was. And it was so exciting to know that the project was still alive even though it didn't have Guillermo del Toro directing it. And it's obvious that he didn't direct it. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody could really live up to what he did for the first movie. It was just so unimpeded and fearless in the way that it was directed, and he didn't care if it was going to be a hit or not. But 2, you can tell they're pandering to a younger audience and trying to make it more appealing to a wider audience. And I get that. I understand that's how the series has to survive, and I'm not too happy about it. But what we got, I can't complain too much because they built on it. It was a little ridiculous at parts, but it's Pacific Rim, so I can't really say the first one wasn't ridiculous. But I don't know, it does capture that spirit of giant robots punching giant monsters. So like, what more could I ask for? The new designs are cool. I'm not in love with all of them, but a few of them I did buy the models for just because they're awesome, and I want to have those on a shelf somewhere because they look so cool, just like the first movie. And I don't know, it seems like a really cool evolution of the first movie, and I appreciate it for what it is. It could have been a lot better, but also it could have made a lot less money to be a lot better for the hardcore fans, so I understand. So all in all, I'm happy with it.
I just want to say, Anthony, I didn't see any of those. I didn't see the first one. I didn't see the second one, of course. You said that you had that.
Yeah, so the concept, like the first one at least, I haven't seen the second one, so I can't speak for the second. But the first one is sort of just, there's these giant monsters coming out of like this rift. I think it's between like Japan and between it's Pacific Ocean. I forget what it's called. But they're called like kaiju, and they're just these giant monsters, and they're kind of just attacking the world. And so conventional weapons aren't very effective against them. So what we start building to respond to them is we build sort of these giant mech suits, and it's like it takes 2 people to run each mech suit, and they sort of like mind link to run it. And think of it just like a giant exosuit, and they go in and they battle the monsters. And I mean, what it is it's for cool effects, and I feel like it's based off something. I think it came from maybe an old comic or an old TV show or something. I can't confirm that, but I thought someone told me that once.
It sounds like a Godzilla type film.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, that's the genre it fits in. So it's these like monsters attacking Tokyo type movies, and we're just fighting back with these Jaegers is what they're called, and they're giant mech suits pretty much.
Right. Anthony, give us your number 2 if you can.
Second is First Man. I've always loved space travel, and this is just such a show of force from the director. And I don't know, everything about the way it's shot is just horrifying in a way. Like, it really captures the bleakness and the terror of doing space travel and being an astronaut and the toll it takes on the family. And I've heard that it kind of painted Armstrong as more of a monster than he really was. But I mean, it was still an entertaining movie, and maybe it's not historically accurate, but it tells such a story that, like, I did not even feel the time passing. while I watched this movie, and it's shot so compact, and like it doesn't show these like big sweeping like interstellar scenes where you see all the ships. Like it's tight and it's in there and it's gritty and it's claustrophobic, just like real life. They don't get to enjoy those big views. They get to see the control panel spinning at one rotation per second when the ship is just completely out of control. And I don't know, I just feel like it really captured the essence of space travel and the terror of space travel and just everything about it. And I left the movie feeling worse than I did going in, which with subjects like this, I feel like that's the way to go. Like, it's not as glamorous as it comes off, and that's what's amazing about it, because we still do it and we still divert this funding to do it. So that's why that's my number 2.
I don't know if First Man's on that list. First Man was actually on that list that I saw for one of the worst, actually. That was pretty impressive. Actually, I got a website pulled up that I can...
Yeah, it's literally, they don't even have it in the top 100.
No. I have a website pulled up that I can go and show you about who failed, and guess what's on the list?
How dare they put Solo on that list?
Solo
I mean, box office wise, Solo was obviously a failure.
Anthony, what's your number 3?
Isle of Dogs is my 3rd one. I've just always loved frame-by-frame animation like this, like the claymation type stuff, stop motion. And in the past couple of years, I haven't really been impressed by anything that I saw, so this one really, it's just so interesting the way it's shot, like the framing of the shots, the way everything's put together. You could see the craftsmanship that went into all the models as they're moving around, and you could see all the little marks from the tools and everything. It's just really amazing, and it's got such a strange sense of humor about itself, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. So that was kind of cool. On top of it being an interesting movie, you can expect it to poke fun at itself and not be afraid to make jokes at its own expense.
One of the things I do gotta say is, of course, we're running short on time here, so let's just try to skip to the last. What's on your bottom?
2 least favorite movies. The first one of my favorite movies, it was my favorite movie before Pacific Rim, was Cloverfield, which is like kind of like an American version of Godzilla by J.J. Abrams from 2008. And that movie was fantastic. I don't know how well it was received, but I know I personally loved it and have seen it so many times. And there was a movie called The God Particle, I think, that was going to be just its own thing. And then the Cloverfield franchise kind of merged with it. They picked it up and made it about Cloverfield. I have to say, I did not even finish this movie. I couldn't get through it. It was just very obvious that it was not a Cloverfield movie to begin with. And it felt really forced, and just the movie just didn't make any sense. Like, the characters were overdone, and I didn't care about any of them. And everything that happened was just like, huh? What is going on? Like, why is this happening? What does this have to do with anything? And I know it's hard to like judge a movie that you couldn't even finish, but also it does say something that I couldn't even finish it, being a huge fan of the first movie. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed it, kind of. It was Skyscraper. I don't know. It was just like if you asked a 10-year-old to write his ideal action movie and then made it, that's what this is. Like, every possible trope of an action movie, it's like almost a parody. Like, I was waiting for them to just be like, surprise, this whole thing was a joke. Like, this is just all ironic. But it really is about a giant skyscraper, as the name would make you believe. And you have The Rock running around, jumping from burning building to burning building and saving his family like a big strong man. And then, like, every possible trope just gets thrown at it one after another. And I loved the hacking scenes, or if you want to call it hacking, which they just tapped different colored blocks on an iPad, and it was mayhem, absolute chaos. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was incredible.
So thank you, Anthony, by the way. So Jake, what was out of your top and things that you've seen, what was some of your worst?
Again, so as I mentioned in the beginning, so out of my 5, Black Panther was my least favorite to sit down. And I mean, again, I would recommend all 5 of those movies, like I say, you should go see them. Again, Black Panther is at the bottom of my list. And, I mean, mostly it comes down to just, I was more interested in the villains than the heroes. One question I have with that movie is that would be a spoiler, I can't mention that. But something regarding the two main villains, which are his two classic villains from the comics and their fates. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy that movie as much. I saw that one in theaters, and my one buddy and I were kind of sitting there, and we couldn't really, like, get into it and take it serious. I remember we started kind of whispering some jokes to each other, which we've never done before, except maybe during episode 8 of Star Wars. But, yeah.
What episode's that?
Yeah, that's right, it doesn't exist. We deny its existence.
Yeah, I deny most. I like Rogue One. Anyways.
Rogue One is beautiful.
So I'm gonna do honorable mentions first, I think, for me. I mentioned Creed 2, Jurassic World, The Commuter's on that list. Instant Family I didn't see, but that's actually like a good...
That's where they like shrink down old people, right? No. Oh.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
No, what is that with, like, I mean, it's Matt Damon, and it's like, there's like a giant cracker or something.
Oh, no. I think it's still with Matt Damon, I think. Yeah, I don't think it's Wahlberg.
Matt Damon's been very busy lately.
Yes, he has. But no, it's where they adopt that family, whatever, it's like a family. It's like, you ever see We Bought a Zoo?
Oh, well, I am definitely thinking of the wrong movie then.
It's like a We Bought a Zoo, nice family-friendly thing. My mother loved it, so that's why it's on there. Ant-Man and the Wasp, that's an honorable mention. There's too many superhero films, but there it is.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, oh yeah, I did see that movie this year, I forgot about that.
Well, you have it right there, I hope you saw it.
Yeah, well, this is your copy. I guess that kind of says something if I forgot to put it in my list. I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp, but again, one of the things I like about the Ant-Man series is they don't like take themselves too seriously. I remember seeing the first Ant-Man and I was like, what even is this? And then I watched it and it was actually, they were like, I mean the directors were like, yeah, I mean no one takes this guy seriously, so let's have fun with it. And that's what I liked about that movie. The second one, I think it did kind of run into that problem, where it was trying to be too serious and it should have played a little more, but overall, I mean, I liked that one.
Do you want to know a movie that I wish we would all forget?
Which one?
Maze Runner Death Cure.
I didn't get to see that one, but
watch it.
I kept hearing.
Watch it.
That's kind of why I didn't watch it, because I was hearing. I enjoyed the first two, and I just heard the second one was just really bad.
And I'll wrap this up here quick because we're running short on time. But my bottom, Red Sparrow. I didn't know what to expect in that movie.
That was
You know, if you're not over 18, you should not be watching it. All I gotta say. First Purge.
Donnie's virgin ears.
First Purge. Solo's on the bottom. I'm sorry. The Nun and Slender Man. A lot of horror films that just, horror is one of those categories where it's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, I got 3 of those horror/thriller films at the bottom there, so what can you do? But hey, I think that was a good episode. Anything else you want to say to the fans?
Tune in next time. Yeah.
What he said. See you later.